Hey BJ, I hope things are going well with you. Just thought I'd throw together this video to help you out with going to Iceland. I've been there twice now, and the first time I went with the family, it was 7 days, and then the second time I went with EF Tours, Education First Tours is the name of the company, and I took my 19 students from our high school with them. The EF tours, it also has tours with just adults, but it's a lot more expensive. It was over $5,000 for an adult to go. I got to go free because I organized the trip, but like I took the whole family the year prior for about $8,000, and there was four of us. So depending on the way you travel, Iceland's not that difficult to get around. If it was like going to Romania or something along that line, where I'd be concerned about language and not understanding the highway system and so on. But driving around Iceland is really simple. There's only one road that goes around the whole country, and all the rules of the road are pretty straightforward. You're not going to really get lost. What's really cool is you get Wi-Fi in the vehicle. So you're out in the middle of nowhere, and the kids are like live streaming to their friends back home, using their social media the trip. It's really easy to navigate around the country, and people all speak English. So going on your own is something I would suggest. You'll be fine doing it on your own. So what I've done is I put together, some time ago, I put together this story map as a way to sort of advertise to the students about what the trip to Iceland would be about. So I'm going to share the story map with you. It also comes with a built-in layered map. And then I'll also show you my personal Google map. So it's got all the links to all of the sites with background information and so on. So this map's sort of cool. You can click on it and sort of, whoops. Yeah, I did a little survey while we're out there. So I've got pictures and, how I'd rate the site out of five. Um, Anyway, all the green sites are natural sites. So I'm more of a natural guy. Love the physical geography stuff. So Iceland's like the best place on the planet to go see so many amazing physical features in a small area. So whereas all the red stuff is more cultural, I must admit, like Iceland's, not exactly the best place to go if you're looking for architecture or big wow human features. A lot of the city of Reykjavik is pretty dull concrete. But there are some neat things, especially some of the Viking history stuff is pretty interesting. So anyway, I do a little bit of reading about the just in general that it sits on the middle of the Mid Atlantic Ridge. Find out a little bit about it. It makes you understand, why the region is the way it is before you go, because you know understanding why you're looking at these features makes it all the more interesting. So one of the best places to go to in all of Iceland is this Thingvellir National Park. It's just beautiful. Just the vistas here are fabulous. But as a geography geek guy, you're staring at Europe on this side. This is North America on this side. They're pulling apart at about 2 to 3 centimeters per year. And the subtle Central Valley is collapsed down in the middle, filled in with some water, and you can see little bumps of volcanoes and so on all over the place. It's also the origin of the Viking Parliament. So way back in 1000 AD, all the tribes of Iceland would come to this area and develop the laws of the land that would rule um, the region for the year, and then they'd all go back and sort of hang out for the year, for the rest of the year, and then come back each year and sort of revise the laws of the land. So it does has cultural significance, but as a geographer, seeing these huge fissures, the big cracks in the land, is places being pulled apart. It's pretty cool. Um, you get to walk. They say, "Oh, you're walking between the two plates." You're not actually walking between the two plates. That whole gigantic valley is the separation of the two plates. This is just one of the multitude of fissures that's that you can walk through. Anyway, you go all the way down this trail. You'll see a little parking lot at the end here. A lot of the first time I went there, we stopped because it was raining. But it turns out that you can go a little bit beyond there, and and there's this awesome waterfall. So it's well worth to sort of go up and look for the waterfall. It starts tucked up and around the corner, and it's a nice sort of warm up if you do this one at sort of the beginning of the day, because it's like, oh wow, that's so nice. And then like the waterfalls just get better as the day goes by, because so typically, what happens is you fly in Keflavik Nash or into the airport, and Keflavik is sort of out in the middle of nowhere. It's the old U.S. Air Force base that got converted into civilian use, and you got to get into Reykjavik. So you got to usually drive all the way in, or there are regular buses. We just rented a car. We stayed in Reykjavik and sort of explored the first day because we got in around 8 in the morning. So we sort of, bumped around Iceland or Reykjavik itself. But then the next day, we did the, what's called the Golden Circle. So you take this drive all the way out here. This is Thingvellir National Park, and lots to see there, beautiful photos and so on. But then what you're going to do is work your way up to Geyser and Gullfoss, and then sort of loop back, usually down this way and into Reykjavik. This is a full day, fabulous day, 10 out of 10. So once you've made it to Thingvellir, the next place you're going to go see is geyser, and as the name suggests, they have this amazing geyser that goes off, and it's like every 7 to 10 minutes. So it's, I remember the first time I got there, I was walking up the path, and also I saw it go off, and I'm like, oh man, I just missed it, and then I get up there, and it's like, boom, off it goes again. So now there is a much bigger one that goes off like once every several hours. I've never seen it go off. But anyway, this thing's fabulous to go see. There's a trail, a much longer trail that takes you all the way up to a very high elevation area, and you can look down on it. If you're sort of pressed for time, I'd sort of skip that extra trail. If you've got the time, then go up and get a nice view of the region from up there. It's pretty cool. So then off to probably the most popular waterfall in all of Iceland, Gullfoss. It's been highlighted in a couple of movies, and it's an amazing experience. There are two trails. Oops, if I could just so here we go. The parking lot's sort of up over here, and then you can see this lower trail that'll take you down, and you can get right up to the waterfall edge here, and you get amazing photographs down there. But then there's a secondary trail. Once again, I didn't know about it on my first trip, but I walked around over here, and then you get this nice sort of wider scale view of the waterfall. So it's pretty cool, and you get some really amazing photographs of the area. So Gullfoss, really cool. So then what we did, we had a choice. We could either go to there's actually three places now would be popular. There's the Blue Lagoon, which is sort of the most typical place that people want to go to. It's near Keflavik. Some people, what they do is they fly, and the first thing they do is they go out to the Blue Lagoon. The problem with doing that is all that hot water, you're going to be like, oh, I just want to sleep for the rest of the day. So I wouldn't do Blue Lagoon on the first day because you'll be just sleeping in the pool. It's also ridiculously expensive. Like it's $32 for a sandwich there. It's the most expensive place in all of Iceland. Um, I went there with the tour group. It was nice to say that we did it, but I much prefer the Secret Lagoon over here. I'll show you some pictures of it later on. It's more of a typical Icelandic hot spring area. It's not the resort kind of thing. It does have some like algae and so on in there, but I thought it was really cool. Water's a lot hotter. Oh my goodness, is it ever hot? So that's sort of like a full day loop there. You can come down through Selfoss and back that way, or you can retrace your steps back in the same direction. Seeing everything from the other direction still is still pretty cool. So then the next big tour we did was down towards the Vic area and the Solandafoss, which is really amazing because if you can see here, you can walk in behind the actual waterfall here. So, if it's a nice sunny day, you get these amazing rainbow effects coming off the waterfall, and it's pretty spectacular. But the thing is that it's just one of a multitude of waterfalls in this spot. So the trail keeps going down to the left if you're facing the waterfall, and it's definitely worth walking to the end because there's this little waterfall. Well, not little, but there's this waterfall that's tucked into a cave, and once you get in there, you get to see this one, which is really really cool. So it's definitely worth the extra walk to the far end. And there's some neat rock formations there, and Solandafoss is where are we here? So if you've gone back to Reykjavik, you've got quite a long drive the next day, going all the way down here, and I think this is it here. Yeah, it's Landafoss. So you're on your way to Vic, which is this area down here. Um, so it's pretty cool. On the way just past it is Los Yoko. um, I really like it. I show the students a film about it every year because it's the volcano that erupted in 2010, I think it was, stopped all the air flights between Europe and North America, and so it's familiar with quite a few people. Um, this is what this area here looked like in 2010 when the big eruption occurred. So anyway, it's just a little stop on the side of the road. There's a little description sign on the side of the road, and take a few pictures and be on your way. But this whole drive along the coast here is spectacular. When you have these just really rugged mountain areas with no trees, so you can see so long off in the distance, it makes for a spectacular drive. So eventually, you're going to make it to the Vic area, and Reynisfara, I believe, is the name here of the Black Sand Beach. So the Black Sand Beach is let's see here. So here's the town of Vic, and here's the one spot you can go to. So there's two ways to see. There's a black sand beach here and a black sand beach here. This one is 10 out of 10. It's just awesome. One of the best places in all of Iceland to go see. In fact, my son says it was the best. The Vic side is nice. I'm going to give it like a 8 out of 10, but it's not nearly as nice. So you go down this long road here. There's not a lot of parking, so you want to get there early in the day and go for a walk on the beach. And where are we here? In the one direction, you're going to be looking at the sea stack, sea cave, and all that sort of stuff. It's pretty awesome. But then in the other direction is the sea stacks that are right here. But be really careful. About a tourist each year gets killed on this beach. The rollers that come in here, you're like, oh yeah, they're not that bad. But every once in a while, you'll get the sneaker wave that comes in that's like 20 feet tall and just rolls all the way up the beach, grabs you, pulls you into the ocean, and because it's like freezing cold, you die. So don't get close to the water. So fortunately for us, like the first time I went with my kids, the tide was up. So it was literally up here and massive rollers coming in. We could not go around this corner. So this is like the cave of death is what I call it around here. And it was a really cool cave that we wanted to go see. We could see this cave, but we couldn't see this one because the tide was up. But as you can see on the second time that I went there, the tide was out. The sea was rather calm. It's never flat water by any means, but it was pretty tame. So it was safe for us to walk all the way up to the sea stacks here, and so this was the big cave of death that I was talking about, which was pretty cool. You get these amazing rock formations, the basaltic rock, and then of course you get up by the sea stacks there, and makes the black on black and the blue ocean and so on makes for some spectacular photography. You're going to want to spend a while here. Um, Not to mention, while you're on this beach, if you look back towards the land, you're going to see, if it's a good day, the huge ice cap. So you'll be able to see off in the distance. Where are we here? Yeah, this ice cap right here, off in the distance. So it's pretty awesome. So once you've seen that, you're probably going to want to drive around, have lunch in the town site of Vic. Um, Vic's got some cute little church there, some nice shops for shopping. If you want to do some horseback riding, it might be a good spot because you can go right on the black sand beach itself there, but it's probably more expensive than if you go horseback riding. We went horseback riding. Where are we? Down in this area, Cora's House and Horses. It was a lot more reasonably priced. And the horses are really cool, the Icelandic ponies and so on. So anyway, this is Vic. So you're looking at it from the other side. We went there with the kids. It was pretty dark, but on a good day, this is what it looks like. Cute little town, and so then. If you really want to keep powering on, that's as far as the school trip went. Whereas with my family, we kept on driving, and so we drove all the way down to, where are we here? Yokosulan. Most people will call it the glacial lake. So there's Salandafoss. Then we did Vic, and then we drove all the way to here. And ideally, you'd stay in the Vic area, and then you don't have to drive all the way back. But Vic is really hard to book. I tried to book it 6 months in advance, and everything was booked. So we ended up staying way back here in Hotel Harjarable or whatever it's called. Anyway, so what we decided is we would go see Slandafoss, Vic, and then power our way all the way up to Yokosulan, and then sort of work our way back and see stuff on the way back. Great thing is, if you're going in July, it's 24 hours of sunlight, so there's no limit to the time of day. It's not as if we're like, oh my goodness, at 8 o'clock at night, we're not going to be able to see much. 2 o'clock in the morning, you can get fabulous photos because the sun's hasn't gone down. You get 24 hours of sunlight. So if you're in early July, so it really extends your day if you've got the energy to get out there and do things. So on the way out to there, you're going to drive by some amazing tongues of glaciers. And actually, with the school, we went for a glacier walk, which was I wasn't that keen to do it originally. I've gone on glaciers here in Canada, and I was sort of like, yeah, walking on snow, woohoo. But the thing is, they got the volcanic ash on the glaciers here, so it makes this crazy landscape of these. You can see the little piles of ash here. Whole story behind that. But if you have the opportunity to go on a glacier walk, I'd do it. It was really really awesome. And the thing is this glacier's losing about 10 meters worth of depth every single year, so it'll be gone soon enough. And get to see some great crevasses out there and so on. So definitely worth going to see. Now, as you're driving along, you're going to come across some of these lava fields, and they're wild. I don't know how the original Icelandic people ever walked across these things because they're the most inhospitable terrain on the planet. So you're going to see these lava fields on the way out to that glacial lake, but you can also see this in the Reykjanes Peninsula. If you're down in this area here, those lava fields, especially around the Blue Lagoon, are very, very common. So if you don't make it out in the one direction, you can see that kind of lava field in the Reykjanes Peninsula. So this is the glacial lake, which so you've got the glacier. It comes down to a lake. The ice calves off, leaves big icebergs in the lake. Eventually, it drains out towards the ocean, but there's a bit of a choke point river going into the ocean, and so they get lodged on the ground there, and so you get to see all these beautiful glaciers from the or icebergs from the parking lot, and you can take boat tours. We didn't bother with boat tour. Um, but yeah, oh my goodness, another 10 out of 10. Very, very cool going out there to see that. Then on the way back, my uncle had actually no, not my uncle, a friend of mine had recommended. Oh, hey, did you see that Justin Bieber video in Iceland? So anyway, you got to click on the Justin Bieber video here, watch it because he dances along in one of the cliff sides here, and he actually got in trouble because he was in an area he wasn't supposed to be on. But this canyon is wild. It's really, really cool. The drive up there will freak you out because you're like driving up the road and then all of a sudden you get to the apex and then you got to come down the other side. It's like, holy crap, what's going on here? So anyway, it's a pretty wild drive out to it. I can't pronounce it. There you go. And but the views are pretty spectacular, and you can say that hung out in the place where Justin Bieber was. So on the way back, we hit Skogafoss. So you can do this on a separate day. It makes for a pretty long day hitting this place, but Skogafoss is another spectacular waterfall here. There's a quite the stairwell to get up to the top, and then you can view from the spot here. But if you've got time on your hands, you can walk up the gorge and see a whole series of more waterfalls along the way. We didn't do that, but just getting up to the top here and seeing it is pretty spectacular. For if you were to get a camper van and do the whole thing in a camper van, a lot of people will camp at this site. There's a massive area at the bottom where camper vans can stay. Now we went out to see the eruption. We were really lucky that it was erupting when we were out there in 2022. There was an eruption again this year. In fact, we had all the earthquakes that led up to that eruption while we were in Reykjavik. We had something like I don't know, 1,200 or whatever in a given day. Most of them you couldn't feel, but in the morning we felt about 8 earthquakes in a row. So but the thing is that this thing will be dormant, so like it's cool. Go up and see the brand new fresh lava field here, but without the actual eruption itself, I don't know if I do it. But if there is an eruption, oh my goodness, you got to get out and see an eruption. It's definitely one of the most breathtaking things I've ever seen in my entire life, and I've seen a few cool things. So. Um, Anyway, you'll if there is an eruption, you'll definitely want to check in with. I'd have to tell you what the name of the website. I can't remember right now, but the poisonous gas that are coming off of the. You can see that smoke there. That'll kill you, dissolves your lungs, and all that sort of stuff. So you want to make sure that they've said that the area is safe to go visit on that day. Hate to get all wrecked from that. So. Okay, a few more natural sights to see. So this is Brimkettle, which is a great thing to see on your way back to the airport when you're going to leave. So this is down in the Reykjanes Peninsula here. So here's the Blue Lagoon. I like this little town of Grindavik. We stayed at this. We were flying out the next day, so we stayed in these little cabins here. Oh, they were awesome. My wife says it's her favorite hotel that she's been at in her entire life. So you get your own little cottage here And there's a nice little walk out on this peninsula here, where there's a bunch of shipwrecks and so on. This is where the volcanic eruption had occurred. But if you're, sort of looking to get a place, close to the airport for, an easy drive the next day to fly out, I would suggest maybe staying in Grindavik. And then what you do is you drive along this road here, and there's a couple of cool things to see. There's the Brim Kettle, which is that wave cut. This thing right here. It's really neat. Natural pool of water right by the ocean. And then there's also this volcanic or hot springs activity in the area, which is sort of cool. And there's two other things that are nice in the area. There's in this area here, there's the whatever Chris Cervic hot springs, which are pretty cool. And then there's this lake. We went out there. So, bit of a story with this. If you're renting a car and they ask you what kind of insurance you want everything. There's like sand, volcano, and wind, which we'll call it insurance. And a friend of mine said, get that because when he was there, he was at a place like this. His wife opened up her door. The wind caught the door and bent it all the way open, unusable, thousands of dollars worth of damage. It's a windy, windy, windy country. Rains a fair bit too. Well, didn't rain hardly at all when I went there with the students. Rained almost every day when I went with my family. So, yeah, crazy winds. So get the sand and wind insurance because what happens if you go on one of those black sand beaches and it's like 110-kilometer winds? It's like sandpaper on the car, strips all the paint right off your car. So anyway, neat spot to go view. So those are all sort of the natural sites. When it comes to the cultural sites, Reykjavik itself, I wouldn't spend more than a day there. I didn't find it that exciting. I've sort of done it to death now between my two trips. Not a lot to see. But there are a few, interesting statues. Essentially, when it comes to Reykjavik itself, um, we stayed on the outskirts here at the Icelandic apartments. Really liked it. Nice, big, big place for the four of us to stay. There was a grocery store across the street so that we could keep our costs down. And the next day we were driving out in this direction anyway. But it did mean that we didn't get to do any sort of the downtown action at night. But we weren't really into that anyway. So the Perland is a really great museum. If you're going to do any museum in Iceland, I would recommend it. It's got this neat sort of fake ice cave that you can explore, and it really tells you all about why Iceland is the country of fire and ice. When it comes to the core area, we parked near the Arts Center, and the parking wasn't that expensive. And then we sort of just walked down into the core here. So Langaverner is the main street here. It extends this whole section down here. Okay, and those are where you're going to find all your shopping, your knick-knack shops, and every single type of puffin you can imagine statue. And then once you get down into this area here, there's a couple of things to see. There's the big opera house. It's worth going inside. It's pretty cool. And in front of it, they've got this neat sort of geothermal spring that's coming out the front of it. The city hall is sort of neat because it's got this reflecting pool in front of it, and there's a huge model of Iceland inside of it. Free to go see. What else? There, right near there, there's sort of like a beer garden area. But it's like $45 for a flight of beers. So get used to the Icelandic prices. And then, of course, there's the big cathedral here that you'll want to go see. That's in the core. and I think it's called Rainbow Street. That sort of takes you down from there to Langewerner, the main drag here. So it's all very walkable, and you can do it in an afternoon. Um, there's some interesting stuff over here. I don't think any of the museums over here are worth really going to see. They look sort of cheeseball. But there is a nice lunch place. I think it was something market. Grand, this one right here. Um, Prices were reasonable. You get to go inside, and there's like five different types of food that you can choose, and then you can sit looking over the harbor here. So it was rather nice. So where are we here? Yeah, the big cathedral. Oh yeah, Viking World. So Viking World's pretty cool. Get off the plane, and one of the things you can see fairly quickly after getting off the plane on your way to Reykjavik is Viking World. So there's the airport. Short drive down to Viking World, and what's cool about it is they got this big Viking ship in the middle of the restaurant. So we had breakfast there and got to check out the Viking ship. Turned out the guy who actually made this and sailed it from Norway to Iceland was there, which was pretty cool. So and you know you got a nice view of the harbor here, or not the harbor, but the ocean. So for a cultural site, it's pretty good. Um, yeah, some neat churches. You'll be driving along on the road and you'll see some of these old farmsteads with the sod roofs. They're sort of worth stopping to take a look at. Not a lot of exciting architecture. There's just down by the core opera house area. There's some neat sort of Danish style architecture. There's that Rainbow Road, but the rest of it, concrete. Horseback riding, definitely worth it. Kids had a lot of fun doing that. And we also went out to go see the Parliament, and it's sort of neat. It's wild. There's like no security. Like there was I didn't even see a dog. There was one police vehicle there, and I didn't see any police. So, but it's a nice view. So this is not Parliament House; it's the Prime Minister's residence. That's it. But it's got a nice view of the area from there. Grindavik, you know, if you want to go see how fishing is done, it's got all the shipwrecks that are around it. If you want to take one of the real adventure tours, they put you on these crazy buses. You cannot take your vehicle on an F class road unless you've got one of these literally Mad Max kind of style Jeeps or so just respect the fact that you got to stay on the main roads. I rented myself a Nissan Forerunner or something along that line. It was great for getting around, but it was not good enough to get on these F class roads. The F class roads are like we wouldn't call it a road in Canada. We just say you're just driving off road. So, but they do have tour buses that will take you in these more remote areas. They're not cheap. We didn't go on any of those. This is the what is it? The Secret Lagoon. So it's definitely not the high class place that the Blue Lagoon is, but it is more authentic Icelandic, and you don't have to book in advance. And it's hot. You can see the actual little mini geysers coming out around the area here. So it's 100-degree Celsius water that's coming out surrounding it, and they have to put metal plates along the sides of the pool to prevent the water from getting in and scalding you. So it's pretty hot. So, but the Blue Lagoon, it's pretty beautiful. Especially like just walking around it, it's pretty spectacular. So, so there's a new place though that's opened up in Reykjavik itself. A friend of mine went there and he said it was awesome. So it's another option that you could check out. Yeah, this is that food place. Yeah, lodging. We Once you get out of Reykjavik, just understand you're not staying in big hotels. Most of it are these guest lodges. This one was a nice little one in the middle of nowhere. Quite often they have hot tubs. Um, Just realize that most of the hot water is going to have a slight smell of sulfur in it because of the it's coming from the ground. It's geothermal heated water. And while you're in Reykjavik, keep your eyes peeled on the sides of the buildings. They love their art. There's a lot of buildings with this really crazy murals on it. So I thought it was pretty awesome while you're there. My daughter's quite the artist, so I'll send you three things. I'll send you the story map, and actually I'll send you two things: the story map and the Google map. And take a look at it. And if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to have a chat with you about.